Or you. This video has a part 1, and I consider it required reading if you want to understand what the f I'm talking about. So if you haven't taken a goosey gander at this horrendous piece of content yet, make sure you do before watching this one. I wasn't lying when I said the first Jurassic World is by far the best in Colin's beloved trilogy. If you somehow like this series of movies, you'd probably agree. And if you hate them as much as I do, which I don't actually think is possible, you'd also probably agree. Unlike the first Jurassic World, my initial viewing of Fallen Kingdom was not one of rapturous autistic glee, but more of torturous agony. Plus, I was in the terrible company of a f***ing cetacean of a human being. Thank God I found someone else. This movie is the reason I got into film criticisms and just hating movies as a whole. It was so bad and made me so angry that when I went home after watching it, I looked for reviews on YouTube that shared my hatred just to make me feel better. So I guess you could say watching this movie started a chain reaction that resulted in me spending hours ranting about this franchise on the internet. Life is beautiful, isn't it? Unlike the last video, which you should definitely watch by the way, Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom doesn't have a Lego game associated with it, so I'll be forced to use actual footage in order to explain what I'm talking about. And this is Universal Studios we're dealing with. These flagged my iceberg video because I dared to use 10 seconds of footage from the Dominion trailer, so I can't imagine they'll love me essentially re-editing their beloved dinosaur movie sequel. So to avoid a Universal branded dragon from hollowing out my internal organs, I'm gonna have to do some pretty degenerate things to the footage, so expect a lot of freeze frames and green screens. I'd like to avoid being demonetized. Not that it matters, I've been doing this for free for almost a year now. Just like the last video, this incredible art piece you are now consuming will likely anger a certain demographic of avid Jurassic World lovers. And once again, I'd like to give those people the time now to either click off this video if they haven't already, or leave an angry comment calling me all types of horrendous slurs and insults. Remember, I do not f***ing care about the lore of these movies that give explanations for why the dinosaurs look different from their real life counterparts. Because the real reason is that when the original Jurassic Park was written, it was accurate to how we thought those dinosaurs looked at the time. So therefore, they look like that. If they really cared, they can make the dinosaurs accurate with lore stating they just made new ones from more pure DNA. But there'll be ample time for me to be angry later on. Alright, that's enough of me twiddling my fingers. This is what the characters. Forget everything you know about the characters from the first movie. No, seriously, they're completely different now. Claire went from some stiff businesswoman who sees dinosaurs purely as assets and moneymakers to some laid-back animal rights advocate campaigning to save the dinosaurs from a volcanic eruption. Regarding her plans for after they save the dinosaurs, who really knows? I guess she read the script ahead of time and knew nothing mattered anyway. Why she wants to save the dinosaurs, I have no idea. It's not like she had some life-changing event or experience take place that would make her want to care about them. She was almost slaughtered like 50 times last movie by the very dinosaurs she so desperately wants to save. I'm shocked she's not dropping bombs into the volcano to kill them all quicker. The only reasons I can think of that she would change her mind this way are the raptors essentially saving her and Owen from the Indominus and the touching moment she had with the dying animatronic. I don't know, she's fucking stupid. Maybe she thought it was a dinosaur. Then there's Owen, who was somehow more annoying than he was in the last movie with this whole manly bullshit. I fucking hate people like this. Oh, I'm gonna build a cabin with my bare hands away from people because I hate people. I'm so different. I'm so cool. I'm gonna smolder at everything too because I'm just too cool to make a normal face. He's always fucking smoldering all the time. Like his character was just demoted to a pretty face. Hey, let's get this dickhead to voice Mario and Garfield. Fuck yeah, I love ruining beloved characters. Apparently he and Claire broke up off screen, but it's not like they got together on screen either. At least not officially. Not that it really matters either, because they're basically together by the end of the movie. A somewhat consistent theme that I've noticed is he gets turned on around dinosaurs. Like, every time he kisses Claire, it's around a dinosaur. It's kind of zesty, honestly. No, Owen, that's a little girl! Oh, God! Also, Chris Pratt seems so fucking bored in this movie. Like, he can't wait for it to be over. At least I can relate to him with that. Okay, we're out of main characters, so who else we got? There's the little girl, Maisie. She's British for some reason, and also a clone, but that doesn't really matter, and it's fucking stupid like most things in this movie. There's this dinosaur vet lady who's another one of Hollywood's failed attempts at making a strong female character that's likable. Like, is it so hard to write a good character without making them a snarky girl boss? All she does is insult everyone in the movie, and it just comes across as a shallow attempt at creating a character. But Justice Smith is here too. I literally just watched the movie and I can't remember his name. I just remember it's fucking terrible and I'd probably murder my parents if they named me it. He's one of the most annoying characters ever put to screen and my least favorite character overall in this franchise. I guess they tried to make him funny, but all he does is scream in a stupid way. Haha, isn't it funny he screams like a little girl, but he's a grown man? Haha. Who fucking wrote this character? Was it you, Colin? You prick. Oh yeah, there's also the insanely evil villains, but I'll get to them later because they're basically just dinosaur food with names. Alright, that's all the character bullshit out of the way, so now it's time to do what I do best, which is bitch and moan about shit I can't change. But, you know, it's fun to do anyway. So let's go over the plot. Fallen Kingdom's pacing is somehow worse than the first Jurassic World. Ignoring the fact that this whole thing is essentially a trailer for Dominion, it's 3 different short films in one. The first one goes for around an hour and it centers around rescuing the dinosaurs from the volcano. It's by far the most interesting of the 3 shorts, but that's not to say it's any good. But I will say, during the first short, I was questioning if Fallen Kingdom really was as bad as I remember. So then we get to the second movie, which is the dinosaur auction. And I don't know if I missed something, but I swear to God, this plot point gets introduced an hour into the fucking movie. And this bit fucking sucks. It was a good reminder of why I hated this movie upon first watching it. Without getting into too much detail, because we'll have plenty of time for that later, the plot goes from some decent spectacle on the island and somewhat decent tension with the dinosaur boat before grinding to a fucking halt to show us some rich people who want to buy dinosaurs and our main characters in a fucking prison cell. And this leads into the third movie, which is the second most interesting movie in this 3-movie. So once we finish with the boring auction scenes that end with a surprisingly violent dinosaur rampage, the Indoraptor, which was introduced all of 5 minutes ago, escapes its cage and turns the movie into a horror thriller that's over in like 15 minutes. But before we have time to dwell on how shit that climax was, they set up Dominion and the movie just ends with a shitty Jeff Goldblum quote that they can put in the trailer.
Megalomania.
But enough about how this 2-hour movie feels like a 5-hour one. It's time to rip apart the lanky middle child of Colin's beloved dinosaur trilogy. Hi, this is post-writing Animal Man here. Colin doesn't have a director's credit for this movie, but he did write it and has said in interviews that he worked in close contact with the actual director, J.A. Banana, I think. I'm still going to keep calling it Colin's trilogy though, because he planned the whole thing out during the first movie. Doesn't change anything, but I like to be accurate in my criticisms. The movie starts by showing us some behind-the-scenes footage of the Ocean Gate Titan submersible as it drives? How do you describe a submarine moving? Whatever the word is, it goes to some giant gates that are revealed to be the gates to the old Mosasaurus exhibit at the now abandoned Jurassic World. Why the fuck do these gates open straight out into the ocean? That makes it so easy for the giant sea beast to escape and annihilate the delicate ocean ecosystem. One of the two guys in the sub is rightfully concerned about being vored by ocean lizards before being assured that anything in the enclosure would be dead by now. We obviously know that statement is false because these are unnamed characters in a dinosaur action movie that are only there to be food for said dinosaurs. Surely you'd make sure to scan the environment before attempting anything, right? The island surely isn't guarded that well if you can open its giant gates and fly a helicopter over it without anyone noticing. So what's the harm in a recon mission? Anyway, they're here to cut off a tiny piece of bone from the Indominus' skeleton, which is stupid for a few reasons. Firstly, they later revealed to be working with Henry Wu, the guy who made the Indominus, and he would surely have records or excess DNA left over. I mean, he packed up his whole lab in the previous movie. Did he seriously have nothing to work with? Secondly, the skeleton is shockingly well preserved for being eaten by the mosasaur without a knife and fork. The mosasaur would have ripped the Indominus apart and swallowed it in giant pieces. So unless it didn't do that or somehow shat out or regurgitated perfect skeleton pieces and arranged them in a recognizable way, there's no way that this could ever have happened. Also, how the fuck did they find it in this massive pool of water? It's not clear how much time passed before they found it, but with the mosasaur in there with them and likely on the brink of starving to death, you would assume the crew wouldn't have been in there for very long. They cut a segment of bone off the skeleton with impressive efficiency and somehow attach it to a balloon that then floats up to the top of the water. But as the camera pans up following the balloon is a cliche reveal of the mosasaur just chilling above them. It's pretty common knowledge by now that the mosasaurus depictions in this franchise are wildly inaccurate. They are nowhere near this size. The largest mosasaurs could grow to 17.1 meters or 56 feet long, and people with a lot of free time make comparisons like this one. Also, according to these people, it almost doubled in size from the last movie. But how the fuck did it grow to double its size if it was being starved for 3 years? The official wiki says it's the same size as it is in the first Jurassic World, but looking at the size comparison compared to the human and this shot of it behind the sub here, I'm not convinced that the wiki is correct. Anyway, we take a break from the high-octane submarine action to see more dinosaur fodder working on some machine. I don't know what it is, I'm not a tradie. What's he even doing here? It's later shown that he's controlling the mosasaur lagoon gates, but why the fuck do they need to close them if they think the mosasaur is dead? And why would he tell the helicopter to leave him alone on an island that's extremely well known for having a fuck ton of man-eating dinosaurs on it? It's literally all over the news with a documented court case about them, and he just told his only source of safety to fuck off. After the subcrew politely let the audience know they're about to leave the movie,
We're heading out.
the technician guy gets snuck up on by the fucking T-Rex. This is a somewhat common thing in this franchise, apparently. I love how his crew are yelling at him over the sound of the helicopter blades. How the fuck would he even hear them? Their voices would be drowned out. Wait, they have radios and microphones. Why don't they just use those? So this dumbass gets jumped by a T-Rex who, instead of eating him instantly, takes a moment to scream at him, giving him a chance to run. People don't go to restaurants and yell at their steak before they eat it. The steak would just be able to escape if they did that. The heli crew kindly take off without the technician and throw him a ladder for him to grab onto while he runs. Also, despite this guy looking like he has the athleticism of your average vegetable patch, he's able to outrun a fucking T-Rex. I guess the redhead bitch was able to do it in heels last movie. The technician guy manages to grab onto the ladder at the last second, but so does the T-Rex, who was somehow able to pull the heli around but not cut the rope ladder. Makes sense, especially since they try cutting it with a knife later. I mean, the rope would definitely sever after being bitten by a carnivorous dinosaur. Why doesn't this dude just start trying to climb the ladder? Does he want to get eaten? Because if he does, he gets his wish. How can the T-Rex move the chopper but the Mosasaurus can't? And why didn't the Mosasaurus eat the T-Rex? It was close enough to shore and did the same thing to the Indominus last movie, so we know it's definitely capable. It's also 100% starving, so you think it'd be inclined to as well. Wait, maybe eating dinosaur that got too close to the edge is how it survived. Oh, fuck it, I don't care. So the scene ends with the crew successfully capturing the Indominus tooth and the Mosasaurus escaping its lagoon, which you think would be kind of important to the plot, but it's barely even mentioned in Dominion, so don't worry about it. I guess it was too expensive to animate or too hard to write around. Fucking Colin. Anyway, here's the title card, completely indistinguishable from the last one, I know. The next bit is an expository news report explaining the volcanic eruption that's gonna fucking murder all the dinosaurs on the island. They explained that the company that owned Jurassic World had to pay out $800 million in damages, which actually seems kind of low for a fuck up of those proportions. Also, some of the shots are reused from the last movie. Where the fuck did they get these shots? Did the news talk to Colin or something? I know Colin thinks he's really smart for the "President doubts existence of dinosaurs" news line. Think I'm speculating and being an asshole? You're wrong. I'm just being an asshole.
Live on TV, the U.S. president questions existence of dinosaurs in the first place, which I feel is a slight dig at the current administration, which I'm all for. Was this your line? Was this?
It was mine. I'll take responsibility.
The news footage is intercut with a court case with the returning character of Ian Malcolm. I love nostalgia. I hope he has a bigger role than this and isn't just here for the trailer. Aww. He says that the dinosaurs should probably just be left to die and gets called a murderer by some cunt in the crowd. Like that makes any sense. It's not like he's chopping the heads off baby dinosaurs with a chainsaw. He's a, whatever his job is. Something to do with law, I think. Whatever his sexual desires, he uses his degree in landscaping to make some good points about the volcano correcting humanity's mistakes of reviving dinosaurs. The next character we're introduced to is Claire, who's first shown in a shot that mirrors her introduction in the last movie, but now she's more laid back. And she's had some plastic surgery too, according to my girlfriend. How is she just allowed to walk around in society? Did none of the blame for what happened at the park go to her? She deliberately didn't evacuate the island and put thousands of people in danger just so her profit margins wouldn't dip. She deserves to be locked up or at least never be able to financially recover. I guess she works in this aggressively millennial office space, in which we get introduced to the girl boss, the paleo veterinarian, a job that is not real because—
That's a real thing.
Oh, my bad, sorry. She continues to yell at someone on the phone about a job because she's insecure, and then says she's never seen a dinosaur in real life. So how is she qualified as a dinosaur vet? It's literally the same thing as reading about animal biology and vet tactics without ever seeing an animal while claiming aggressively that you are indeed a trained vet. Can you tell I don't like this bitch's character? I don't even care about the girl boss shit. It just comes down to awful writing. She's just insufferable. But I guess everyone is in this universe. She palms the phone off to Claire so she can spout more exposition to the audience about what their organization is and what they do. It's not actually a bad way of delivering exposition because it's implemented naturally in the story. I'm just being an asshole. While Claire yaps about a dinosaur protection group, we get introduced to Nerd Guy, who makes a shitty comment to Girl Boss about her phone call before getting the most vile insult I've ever heard.
You gotta stop letting your mom shop for you.
Anyone said that to me, even as a joke, I'm finding to the nearest train station and fucking up Sydney's public transport for the next 3 days. After Claire is done making a random congresswoman empathize with CGI dinosaurs, the consensus of the court meeting is shown on the office TV, stating that the government doesn't give a fuck about the dinosaurs and is gonna let them die, calling it a privately owned venture. The audience is somehow not supposed to agree with this. Where would the dinosaurs even go? We see exactly what they can do, and every time they're held captive, they fucking escape and kill people. Also, Henry Wu is still alive, and his research, along with John Hammond's notes, would be studied for generations. What's to say they can't just make more? But there's no time to be sad because Claire gets another call summoning her to this spooky-ass computer-generated mansion in the middle of fucking nowhere. This house feels like something out of Downton Abbey or Bridgerton, not fucking Jurassic World 2. Claire is invited inside by some British lady, and while waiting for whoever invited her to the house, finds some nostalgia in the form of a painting of John Hammond. But not without a reminder of who it is for the kiddies.
John Alfred Hammond.
This is where we get introduced to Eli Mills, a seemingly chill guy who later becomes laughably evil out of nowhere. Even after looking it up, I'm not entirely sure what he does, but he's like an aide to the owner of the mansion who's also somehow his boss or something. And he speaks to Claire about his plan to rescue the dinosaurs from the abandoned park. He gives some background on who his boss is as well, saying he worked with John Hammond on the idea and initial research and experiments for the original Jurassic Park. He says he found a volcano-free island where they can relocate all the dinosaurs, and Claire just blindly believes him without even questioning where this island is or how they own it. She doesn't even question how much fucking money, time, and effort it'll take to enact whatever plan he has. Then the old guy fucking wheels in and starts spouting some dumb shit. As the camera zooms out to show us the room where the third movie in this movie predominantly takes place, I'd like to point out that it's been nearly 15 minutes since we last saw a fucking dinosaur in a movie called Jurassic World. Be prepared to keep waiting though, because we don't see another one until close to the half-hour mark. You're starting to see where my issues with the pacing come from? This is also where we get told about the old fuck's daughter who died in a car accident, and his granddaughter, who, spoilers, is a clone of the daughter. It's probably the stupidest plot point in this series, and that's saying a lot given there's a fucking dinosaur auction later on. So they have a boring meeting where Eli explains why he needs Claire for his operation, saying no one knows the park as well as she does, while he looks at a map of the fucking park. It's clear that the writers had no idea how to get Claire involved in the plot again and just made some shit up. He also heavily implies that he needs Owen for the raptor, and I guess he tells Claire to go get him. So she goes to meet the raptor rapist, and he's just building a house in the middle of the forest because he's a real man who does man things and hates people but likes men and plugs their booty holes because he's a real man who likes men. I fucking hate these character archetypes. They just read like a closeted gay guy trying to hide his sexuality by overcompensating when he could just go to a bears night on Oxford Street and realize that he can do both. And we cut to a bar where they talk about how they broke up off screen in a way that no two normal humans would ever do, but I guess these two are anything but normal and have excellently demonstrated their extreme lack of brain cells in the past, so why am I even questioning this? Like, they literally start quoting arguments they had. This is not how conversations work. Why not just have them together and avoid all this bullshit? Anyway, the conversation unnaturally shifts to Claire guilt-tripping Owen, saying he's letting Blue die. But that's like telling some homeless crackhead that he's letting children in Africa starve to death. He could spend thousands of dollars to go over there and shove sandwiches down their throats, but he spent it all on crack. And the same logic applies to Chris Pratt. Let the rat do his crack! But seriously, what is Owen gonna do? He doesn't have any of the resources to even attempt leaving the country. What, is he gonna build a boat with his house building skills? After Claire ditches him at the bar, he goes home and watches videos of him training the raptors as babies. Oh look, they're the size they were in real life. This is literally the closest we'll ever get to accurate raptor depictions in this franchise. The director just told Chris to smolder at the screen for this shot. So now it's time to get on this shitty plane, and I guess Baby Blue is just too cute because Owen is chilling in the back too. And apparently Claire didn't see the man-shaped lump on the back seat on her way in. Also, these two are fucking bickering for some reason. I just block it out now. Look at this awkward cut. Thanks for that, buddy. Put it in me. Oh, Jesus, put it. We cut away just when something interesting is about to happen to show the granddaughter from earlier jump scaring an old woman, and for some reason she's super British. You know what? I actually don't want to talk about this bit. The other thing I will say is the cloning foreshadow is fucking stupid, where the girl asks if she looks like her mother and essentially told she looks the exact same. Now, I hate to get all scientific on you. Okay, that's a lie. I love it. But she wouldn't look that similar to her mother at all, even if she was a clone. If one organism is a clone of another, the only thing that is the exact same is their genome or their entire genetic code. But that doesn't mean they'll always look identical, because the environmental conditions where the clone and the original were embryos would be vastly different from one another. And it's these environmental conditions that can alter what the organism will look like. So unless you can perfectly mimic the environmental conditions the original's mother undertook over 9 months of pregnancy, the clone wouldn't look identical to the original. This also sort of explains why identical twins have minor differences, and that's being in the same womb at the same time. Now imagine different wombs 30 years apart. So they look kind of similar, but not a mirror image. Alright, enough of that. Let's get back to Hawaiian tourism. I mean, establishing shots of the island. And then we get treated to another smolder. When they get off the plane, we're introduced to the other villain in this movie, but this one's a little more obvious than Eli. Like, just look at him. He can't even smolder right. He's the leader of the dinosaur rescue operation, and he also can't fucking speak.
These humanitarian efforts very seriously.
Sounds like he's mid-stroke. Oh, fuck, not that kind of stroke! We have a few more establishing shots before they arrive at the destroyed pyramid hub or whatever. While Claire and Owen look around anxiously, one of the soldiers asks,
Bad memories.
to which Owen replies,
Some were good.
like, bro, what the fuck are you talking about? You almost died like 200 times and hooked up with a ranger while people were being slaughtered around you. There were no good memories. At least not enough for you to mention it. There's a stupid shot of what I assume is a Compsognathus among some other dinosaur toys that's only here for the trailer, and the truck stops when someone hears rumbling that can only be attributed to dinosaur footsteps. Why the fuck are they stopping when it could be the T-Rex or something? Well, it turns out to be a Brachiosaurus. It wasn't present in the wide shot, and for some reason they all get out of the truck to look at it, despite being in one of the most dangerous places on Earth. This shot is also only for the trailer, but I like to think of it as a, remember there are dinosaurs in this movie? It's been half an hour since the last one. Where were these things kept in the last movie? Were they just like off exhibit? The same actually goes for a few dinosaurs we'll see later on that only get added for variety. Anyway, don't get too attached to this thing because it gets Pompeyed in a few minutes. The team finally rock up at this abandoned ass building, and we're treated to a few more smolders as it's revealed that said building is positioned right under the currently ejaculating volcano. It's only now that I learned they're here to track the dinosaurs, but I don't know if it's the movie's fault for not communicating that properly or mine for not fucking listening. Let's meet in the middle and blame Colin for something. If they only need to track the dinosaurs, why the fuck aren't they at the control room from the last movie? They could do it just fine from there, so why put yourself at more risk by going underneath a currently erupting volcano? And if you want to use the argument that the villains wanted them to die on the island so they wouldn't know about the auction, that's also stupid, because they could die before they're even able to track the dinosaurs. Plus, they wouldn't even know about the auction until they're back on the mainland, where you could just kill them and say they died on the island. They even talk about doing this later. So why the fuck are they here? Oh, right, it's so they can have a set piece with a new dinosaur that's probably also for the trailer. Gotta have as much interesting shit for the marketing now before the boring bullshit later. Somehow all the electronic systems work flawlessly after not being touched for several years, and they're able to locate all the dinosaurs on the island. They notice there's a bunch already at the docks, and everyone's kinda sussy at the evil dude for somehow rounding up a bunch of the other dinosaurs, even though his logic makes sense.
The big herbivores are easy to find.
There's another girl boss moment involving something about sedatives, and Owen references a night he and Claire had together.
You're the one who made me come.
After some poorly rendered CG-osauruses and random device screens, they all leave the safety of the truck on fucking Dinosaur Island again. It's like these people want to die or something. Anyway, fast forward through 2 minutes of Owen walking around a fucking rainforest, smoldering at the slightest sign of danger. He comes across a nostalgia jeep that's just in the middle of nowhere. How the fuck did this thing not only get here, but get flipped like that? Is it from the last movie? Before we have time to question anything, Blue comes out of fucking nowhere and jump scares Owen, and instead of trying to eat him, just looks at him and makes random noises. I've already been over how much I hate the raptors in these movies in depth, so I'm not gonna fucking start, because I go on a cardiac arrest if I do. As they're ripping off How to Train a Dragon, they're interrupted by one of the soldiers shooting a tranquilizer dart. If Blue is so aware of her surroundings as consistently told by Owen to the point where she's more likely to sneak up on you, how the fuck did she not notice an entire group of men that are far less trained than Owen literally circling her? So she mauls one of them to death while the others just watch, and in doing so knocks Owen over, who's just completely fine after this massive dinosaur threw him like a ragdoll. The dude in the process of getting mauled fucking shoots her too. Good thing there's a fake vet nearby. Owen is understandably not pleased with this result and runs towards the leader of the dudes with automatic weapons, and as a result gets tranked. Didn't the vet say that tranquilizers are super high strength and could cause respiratory failure if something is given too much? One of these was enough to make Blue weary, so Owen should definitely have died here. Like, sure, Girl Boss takes it out when it's halfway injected, but he'd still be fucked. She also guarantees her safety by saying if she dies, Blue does too, which is maybe the only smart thing a character does in this movie. So we cut back to Nerd Gang, and as expected, the entire building is being destroyed by the active volcano. Why the fuck are they still here? They just need to find Blue, right? They already did that, and Eli didn't say anything about needing Claire and Owen for the other dinosaurs, so they should have just left when they tracked Blue. And Owen also has a phone thing that's able to track her. Wait, if he had that, they definitely don't still need to be here. The doors close on them, meaning they're definitely dead, so we can move to the other scenes now. And it's absolute chaos. Oh, never mind, it's a phone call back in the house with the stupid fucking child. Look at her dumbass face. She's upset she got yelled at for interrupting an important business call and not shutting the fuck up when she was nicely asked to. I guess this is here to foreshadow Eli becoming an insane person later on, but it doesn't make any sense. But even still, he apologized to her like immediately. But nah, he yelled at a supposedly cute child, so he's a villain now. Who needs to write anything good when you have a child to yell at? Now we have a first in the Jurassic World movie, where we see an actual corpse, and thankfully it's Owen's, and we get an accurate reenactment of a child spending a night at Drake's house. But then it's revealed there's lava 3 meters away from him that approaches extremely quickly between shots. So instead of catching fire or dying of heat stroke like he should, he somehow overcomes an extremely strong tranquilizer and does this Stephen Hawking ass crawl away from the lava. Alright, this nitpick is going to take a little bit of explaining. The term for how fast lava flows is called viscosity. Lava with low viscosity flows quickly like water and covers large areas, while lava lava with high viscosity flows slower and covers small areas. Viscosity is dependent on the silica content of the lava, so having both high and low viscosity lava from the same volcanic eruption is extremely unlikely. There are even certain volcanoes listed as being mafic or felsic, which is low and high viscosity respectively. Now that that's out of the way, why does the lava here have low viscosity and the lava about to cook the rat have high viscosity? Make it make sense, Colin. Yes, I dabble in earth and environmental science as well as whatever the fuck else I do. Where the fuck did this skeleton come from? I can't see it in any of the wide shots. Also, is this scene supposed to be funny? Because it's just agonizingly long. Thankfully it ends and we cut back to Nerd Squad, and while Franklin is trying to open the doors to let them out, accidentally lets a man-eating dinosaur in. Rookie error, honestly. Instead of trying to find another way out or doing literally anything else, they stand at the entrance of the tunnel like dumb cunts, just waiting to be consumed. Franklin even thinks it's the T-Rex, so it's not like they thought it was a herbivore or something that wouldn't instantly murder them. So of course they turn their backs to it. And it turns out to be a baryonyx, and Franklin reminds me why he's my least favorite character in this whole franchise. Get it? He's screaming like a baby, but he's not a baby. Adult man scream baby funny. Haha. This might be the most out of place joke ever. As you'd expect by now, with a new dinosaur comes a new inaccuracy, and this one pisses me off especially because they literally got it right with its cousin in 2001. Also, I just double checked the release of that movie, and it's one day before my birthday. And 12 days before they fucked up its mouth. It's one of the most well-documented and researched dinosaurs ever, and they fucked up the main thing about it. Their snouts were long and narrow, comparable to that of a gharial, which is like a shitty caiman, which is like a shitty crocodile. It's literally in the second paragraph on Wikipedia. They didn't even try. And yeah, it's a Spinosaurid, so it's related to this thing whose snout they actually got right. Not much else though, and yes, I know it was accurate to the time, but I don't care. I need to be consistent here. Other than the fat mouth, the size is pretty accurate, so back to the movie, where the baryonyx is getting defeated by some hot rock water. This gives Claire and Cunt some time to look around and find a ladder they definitely should have found much earlier before they let a giant dinosaur in. Cunt grabs a chair to help him climb to the ladder and has to wrestle a giant dinosaur for it. And he wins! What the fuck? He should have been pulled into the lava instantly! People somehow out-muscling dinosaurs is a common theme in these movies, and it only gets more prevalent as they go on. Also, why does the baryonyx even bother grabbing the chair? It knows it's not food. Why not just go for Franklin? As they're climbing up the ladder, it extends, and Franklin falls back down to be eaten. Instead of immediately climbing back up, he stays there for a bit and slowly turns to look at it. Like, move. I guess he knows all dinosaurs scream at their food before eating it, so he knew he'd have time to escape, which they both do, and again out-muscle a dinosaur to lock it in a room where it will certainly die a horrifying death. They didn't even need to close it. It's not like this giant thing could climb all the way up that ladder. They grow to 10 meters or 33 feet long. There's no way it would fit. While staring at the imminent death surrounding them, they see Owen practicing his routine of drinking White Monster and sprint chasing foreigners at night before it's revealed that he's somehow outrunning several species of dinosaurs. Why are the dinosaurs only running now? Don't animals have that weird thing where they can detect natural disasters before they're about to be burned alive? I know I call myself the animal man and should know, but these are dinosaurs that aren't real, so I can't exactly fact check this. Someone call an angry commenter. I'm sure they'll write a novella about it. There are too many dinosaurs here for me to comment on all of them, but I will say, how the fuck are they knocking all these trees over? They can't be that strong. Also, do they look weirdly oversized, or am I just clapped? So they conveniently find an abandoned gyrosphere from the last movie and decide to hide behind it for some reason. Even though these creatures were destroying forests like some company that deforests a lot. I don't know. I'm writing this on a cruise. I don't have internet to look it up right now. But the point is, the dinos would definitely be able to push the gyro around like it's nothing and decimate our main characters. And given that they weren't bothering to avoid trees, they likely wouldn't avoid a random log and glass ball either. Also, the Ankylosaurus did it in the last movie, so yeah, they'd all be fucked. Aside from death by dinosaur, there's also, the erupting volcano right behind them, so moving may help them avoid this hazard. Somehow it gently gets pushed and flips so people can get inside. Like, these dinos are running at max speed. It would go flying. As Claire and Nerd are getting inside, they once again get snuck up on by a massive dinosaur, and I guess Owen decides the best course of action is just to stare at it. Same with Nerd and Claire too. This is the Carnotaurus, and it's actually not that inaccurate. At least nothing major is fucked up like the size anyway. It's slightly larger here than its real life counterpart, but only by a few meters, and there are a few minor things with its horns and wrists or something. Not enough to get pissed off about, but enough to note. Crazy how the dinosaurs introduced later in the series and also more recently are more accurate to their real life counterparts. Almost like they're based on current research and all the genetic engineering excuses are just shitty cover-ups. And then the people who are autistic about this franchise come into my comments yapping about it and expect me to give a shit. Fuck your excuses, fuck this franchise, and fuck me while you're at it. I'm bricked at the moment. Anyway, so the mildly inaccurate beast just kind of yells at them like every other carnivorous dinosaur in this fucking franchise and plays a very slow-paced, menacing game of Ring Around the Rosie with Owen. Why not just eat him? Better yet, why not just run away from the volcano that's going to end your life? This is what I mean by all the dinosaurs just having an insatiable bloodlust. Similar to me when old people won't get the fuck out of my way and I just want to push them over their stupid fucking walkers. But of course I don't.
Because that's what heroes do.
The Carnotaurus then goes for a heavily armed Triceratops thing called Sinoceratops. That's like being in a McDonald's and then saying nah and then going home to cook yourself a meal that takes 7 hours to prepare. The easy snack was right fucking there. Anyway, the fight is super violent and causes the gyrosphere to flip and the door closes, locking Owen outside. Also, the Carno was getting its ass kicked. Seriously, why didn't it just ignore the Sinoceratops and go for Owen? It would have been so easy. Well, I guess it heard my advice because it gives up and looks to Owen. It screams at its food like 3 more times before the T-Rex comes out of nowhere and just murks it instantly. Why didn't we hear the T-Rex coming? Why did it even bother attacking the Carno? Why is it yelling at the sky? Why isn't it eating Owen? Is it supposed to be a good guy or something now? This franchise certainly starts treating it as one. So it just walks off, ignoring Owen as if it didn't try to eat him for for no reason during the Indominus fight last movie, and then a bunch more dinosaurs not present in the roaring at the sky shot appear, and the scene continues. Fuck this movie. We watch what I assume to be an Allosaurus get its life violently taken by the volcanic ash cloud, which is called pyroclastic flow. It's made up of volcanic material and hot ash, and it can travel at speeds of more than 320 kilometers or 200 miles an hour, so nothing would have been able to outrun it, including Owen. And also, if you're surrounded by it like Owen is here, death or serious injury is guaranteed, caused by hot ash and gas burning the fuck out of you. And you'd also inhale the same ash and gas along with smoke, burning your lungs and suffocating you at the same time. Essentially, you'd burn from the inside out. So Owen should be fucking dead. Also, if events in the last movie have told me anything, one of the pterodactyls would have picked him up by now and swiftly ended him in some creative way. My suspension of disbelief can only stretch so far, and this is like the absolute worst it gets in this franchise. The dinosaurs, the stupidity, the fucking volcano bullshit, it's all too much. And you know the worst part about all this? Well, there's two worst parts. We're not even halfway through it, and we're about to end the best movie in this 3-movie. It somehow gets worse. So worse, in fact, I'm gonna speedrun this bullshit scene where Claire and Nerd's glass testicle get thrown into the ocean and Owen rescues them. And we'll start with the thing, singular, that I like. Yes, there's actually something I like here, and it's the presentation. It's presented in a long take that's really effective at portraying a sense of flow and helps to communicate the stress the characters are feeling in the moment. Long shots are great at giving the audience a sense of time and scale, and it's used to great effect here. Plus, I don't even know how they shot it because they have Claire and Fuckface inside the ball and Owen outside swimming. I don't know, it's just a genuinely good scene in an otherwise torturous movie, so good job, I guess. Anyway, now for everything else. How is the sphere not sinking to the bottom? How did Owen survive a fall that the smart guy knew was unlikely, even in the highly protective sphere? Adding to that, in the last movie, there was a demonstration that the sphere's glass was bulletproof from a pretty powerful pistol. So how can Owen shoot through it while also underwater, which would slow the bullets down? At least I assume so. I don't speak 70% obesity rates. Then he pries it open some random knife. If you want to say the glass weakened over time, I'm pretty sure 3 years isn't enough for bulletproof glass to become non-bulletproof. Also, Owen gets hit by scalding volcanic rock that burned a hole in the sphere. His hand should be gone. Okay, I think that's everything. Oh wait, one more thing. Also, the eruption is still happening, but I guess our dumbass trio was able to traverse the island completely unscathed. And now they're completely dry. Forget about how they were on an island full of bloodlusted dinosaurs as well, because we need the movie to continue. We wouldn't want to spend time on things like the plot making sense. How quickly did they not only swim to shore, but walk to the boat? Because it surely would have left by now, or at least been overtaken by the tephra. That's a fancy collective term for pyroclastic flow. They notice a helicopter, and it's carrying a familiar foe from before. How the fuck did they rescue the baryonyx? Is it another one? It's gotta be, right? And why is it awake while on a crane and being lowered near people? Use those fucking tranquilizers, oh my god. In case you've forgotten, this is the villain. We know this because he just rips out a stegosaurus's tooth for no reason. Only villains do that. Why can't these people just be evil on a normal level? Like, we don't need them to rip out dinosaur teeth, they can just do normal bad person things. Owen then breaks the fourth wall by commenting on how shit the CGI for Blue is.
There she is. You don't look good.
So then all the dinosaurs disappear from the dock in a matter of seconds. Like, there is no clear passage of time between these shots. Some goons, fuck that word has been ruined, leave a truck on the dock instead of driving it into the boat and saving time, which is convenient because our main characters need to rip off Fast and Furious to ensure they can get on as well. They even do that extra gear that gives magical powers bullshit. I also found it really funny that Claire didn't wait for Owen and Franklin to get on before fucking flooring it. How did no one see them getting on the boat? It's kind of hard to miss something like that. No one even checked what that massive crash at the back of the boat was. Given they were literally just left for dead on Dinosaur Island, it would probably be a smart decision to try not to make the loudest noise ever. And it would be especially bad if after making said loudest noise ever, you stood at the back of the boat and cried over a special effect disappearing into a cloud of more special effect. I guess people like the scene of the sauropod, which I'm gonna assume is a brachiosaurus, getting killed by the volcano and being a little upset about it. I don't really have an issue with it. It just seems so out of place and tonally inconsistent with the rest of the movie. Also, why was it yelling at the boat? Does it know that it was its only chance of rescue? Also, how can Owen survive all the ash and shit if the gigantic sauropod can't? So now begins the second movie in the 3-movie movie. And the second movie starts by introducing the plot point of the dinosaur auction 53 minutes in, which is the antagonist's main motivation to doing all this shit. And introducing it now with no hints or anything before is just insane. To really put into perspective how fucking stupid that is, that's like if Thanos was introduced as a friend of the main character 20 minutes into Endgame, yelled at a child a bit later, and then halfway through the movie revealed he wanted to kill half the universe. What the fuck were you thinking, Colin? Anywho, this ugly guy complains that the dinosaurs aren't here yet. Like, you can just rush a multi-million-dollar operation involving the capturing of gigantic creatures from a remote island. They had the operation booked for that day. He should know. Also, the auction is like perfectly timed with when the dinosaurs get back to the mansion. So what is this cunt complaining about? For some reason, this guy's willing to pass up on the offer to sell fucking dinosaurs with the shitty reason that a few million is a slow Tuesday for him. Like, sure, be a dickhead or whatever, but these are dinosaurs you're talking about. Who the fuck else are you gonna get these from? Anyway, so Eli yaps about how they'll use money to make more genetically engineered dinosaurs, and the granddaughter bitch overhears and goes and cries to the old fuck who tells her to end her life and calls her a slur or something. I don't know, I wasn't really watching. I was more distracted by the fact they just introduced the Indoraptor and the movie's more than halfway finished. Also, what kind of name is Indoraptor? It's just fucking lazy. Wow, they mixed in Indominus with a raptor and made a portmanteau of both the names. Wait, wasn't it already part raptor? Oh god, forget it. Also, they said they used Owen's research to help them develop and train it, but Owen's raptors slaughtered a troop of military men because a bigger dinosaur barked at them a few times. I wouldn't regard that as successful training deemed worthy of replicating an entirely new project on. Also, how did they train it to do the laser thing so well? Hang on, I'm getting ahead of myself here. So we cut back to the boat and girl boss, sorry, Zia, is listening to the heartbeat of a clear clearly alive and thrashing Blue before the three dickheads reunite with her. For some reason, she says to the raptor like she all has a plan. She has a stethoscope. That dinosaur is gonna fucking die, and I'm shocked it hasn't ripped her apart yet. Sierra explains that she needs blood from another animal to save Blue, something about removing a bullet. And Claire says that she did a blood drive for the Red Cross. Like that's at all compatible with taking a blood from a fucking dinosaur, but okay. And it turns out the only compatible dinosaur is the T-Rex. Again, I'm not gonna cover the scene in detail. I might genuinely pass away, but they managed to do it and wake the T-Rex up in the process, despite it being heavily sedated. Tomfuckery ensues, and Owen has to jump through its open mouth to escape being murdered by the dinosaur's other body parts. And this makes probably even more noise than the truck bullshit, and still somehow doesn't attract any attention. But there are some guards who close the gate to the T-Rex cage without looking inside or questioning how it opened. And we cut back to Maisie because everyone cares about fucking Maisie, and she somehow knows the code to the super secret basement where Eli's gonna put all the dinosaurs. I get she watched him before, but there's no way she saw the exact code. Unless she knew it before. Oh my god, bro, I'm gonna get brain damage from this shit. Is it so hard for the writing to just make sense? Anyway, so she goes downstairs and somehow no one is down there, so she could just look at random things without being caught. And one of the things she looks at is the videos of Owens with the raptors. This is important so she can blindly trust him later on without the need to actually develop relationships between the characters in meaningful and logical ways. Genius writing, if I do say so myself. In this video, Owen fake cries and Baby Blue shows empathy to him. But like, how can she read human emotion? And if she's so in tune with human emotions, why does she just murder people all the time and try to attack Owen a bunch? Doesn't seem very in tune to me. This is intercut with Blue's surgery back on the boat before Maisie is interrupted by more incriminating conversations Eli has with random people. I'm assuming that Eli came down through the elevator, and I'm assuming he knew no one would be down here, given that Maisie wasn't caught snooping around for several minutes. So did he just not question why the elevator was on the bottom level already? Or was he too busy arguing with Henry Wu, who's introduced with a self-gratifying musical cue? Also, how the fuck did they not see her here? Here the two argue about needing Blue to bond with the Indoraptor, for some reason, even though it's perfectly trained to follow the laser, it is a familial bond with a genetically similar organism. Well, if by familial bond they meant a violent and needless fight to the death, they definitely got what they wanted. But in all somewhat seriousness, Henry says the Indoraptor will learn obedience from Blue, despite Blue clearly being shown to be the opposite of obedience several times already. And plus, the Indoraptor perfectly follows orders and seems already grown up, so why does it need a mother? It's just a dumb excuse to keep Blue alive for some greater purpose. Why not just sell her? It's not like this plot point of Blue's personality being significant to Owen and scientific research goes anywhere. Nothing would change if they just wanted to sell her. Like, literally nothing. They would still want to save her because she's valuable, and they would still need Owen to go and get her from the island. He wouldn't want them to sell her, so there's his motivation to save her, and the villain's motivation to leave Owen to die on the island. And then you could cut out these dumbass scenes, and Blue killing the Indoraptor would make more sense. So while Maisie tries to hide from this completely unimportant conversation, she doesn't realize the Indoraptor is reaching out to grab her. And may I remind you, we are an hour into the movie now, and this is our first look at the main antagonistic dinosaur in this movie. At least the Indominus was clearly spoken about and even partly shown before its full reveal, which was half an hour into the movie. God, you know your movie is shit when the first Jurassic World does a better job than you at being a fucking film. Anyway, so it just plays with her hair and roars, probably translating to telling her how mature she is for her age, and she screams back, probably because she was reminded of her first meeting with Drake, and runs straight into Eli. You'd think if she was trying to be stealthy, she'd be careful not to back into a cage or scream really loud, giving away her location. She demands to know what it is, even though through context clues from the conversation Eli and Henry just had, it's clearly the Indoraptor. Stupid child. And in response, Eli violently drags her through the house and just throws her into a room. You'd think to avoid suspicion, he'd tell her it's something else and not abuse her, but he's the villain, I guess. He then demands that the housekeeper keeps her in her room, even though the housekeeper clearly cares very deeply for Maisie and probably wouldn't follow that order. But enough with that, because Owen and Claire are cuddling. Like, can these two decide whether they hate each other or not? They hide from the army villain guy who should have definitely seen them, and Girl Boss tells them to take their own blood samples of Blue, when she's the one who's supposedly qualified and would do it the safest. I guess she suddenly doesn't care about this raptor. And if that's not enough, while they're leaving the truck, Franklin gets seen and pretends to be part of the crew, which somehow works despite him being scrawny as fuck and wearing a fucking cardigan with a shitty shirt. He's clearly not a worker, and if this guy is his superior, which I'm assuming he is because he's ordering him around, he should know his own personnel well enough to know Franklin isn't one of them. Also, it's like a small army. They all fuck each other, and he'd be able to smell unsucked cock and immediately know. Basically, Franklin's fucked, and thankfully we won't see him for ages after this. Claire and Owen steal a truck without being noticed, which I'm gonna stop criticizing because it'll keep happening, and they follow the convoy to the mansion. And this is where they finally get caught. But before we see that, Eli's getting told off by his old man boss. I guess he figured out what was happening, but how? He's basically bedridden, and you'd think none of Eli's workers would snitch on him. He's so bedridden that he tells Eli to call the cops on himself, so he definitely couldn't have figured it out on his own. Also, why does he have a massive fucking lab and cage set up in his basement if not for this exact purpose? Fuck, there's a conveyor belt that takes cages out to show to an auditorium. It's like the best dinosaur auction underground dungeon you could hope for. So in response, Eli fucking suffocates him with a pillow. I'm serious, this is the most out of nowhere turn to complete insanity maybe ever. Like, sure, he yelled at Maisie a few times, but this is a step too far. He could have just taken the phones in the wheelchair out of the room and locked him in there so he couldn't tell anyone. There was literally no need to murder him because he told you what you were doing was illegal. Like, Jesus. Also, it'll show up on an autopsy as suffocation, and he'll be a major suspect, so we didn't think this through all that much. Also, I guess it's too violent because we don't see it, even though people get mauled by dinosaurs in this movie. A simple pillow over the face is too much for some people. What we see instead is his fucking amber staff falling and breaking. But like, why? I scream laughed at it, so at least I got something out of it, but it's so stupid. Did Eli knock it over, or did it just do that? After Claire and Owen get caught, they're thrown into prison, and Claire clearly telegraphs that she's going to attack Eli. Even Ellie from The Last of Us, a literal child, knew to hide her intentions before attacking someone while in the same situation. Eli yaps about how there was no other way to get Blue, but there definitely was. They helped when they thought they were going to relocate the dinosaurs and wouldn't have known differently until they landed in America, where you can just explain then. Sure, they could be kind of pissed off, but you didn't have to leave them for dead. Owen calls Eli smart when we know that's not true, and Eli makes a very good point to Claire, saying she can't criticize him because she's also exploited the dinosaurs. Checkmate, honestly. Sure, she claps back by saying it was legal, but she's done much worse than him. But then he turns to Owen and says he's stupid for not thinking that the results of his research would be applied for things he doesn't agree with. That's stupid. What, is he supposed to just not do his job? It's kind of hard to apply his research anywhere unless you can create a fucking dinosaur. So yeah, I'd say it's fair he didn't consider it. Look at this awful laugh. So Eli just leaves them there despite saying that everyone thinks they burned on the island. But instead of getting his guard to kill them then and there, he just leaves them alive. There is literally no consequence to murdering them right now. In fact, him not doing this allows the third movie to happen. So he's the worst villain in this franchise for that sin alone. Now we cut back to the extremely uninteresting Maisie plot, and she's just unlocking the door, which still has the key in it for some reason. Did Eli not remove it, or did the maid put it back in there? If she did, why not just unlock the door? We're also going to ignore the fact that the door can't be unlocked from the inside. It's an old house, so I'm willing to ignore that detail. She walks outside to her balcony to see a fleet of rich person cars coming out the driveway in unison, carrying the rich cunts who want to buy the dinosaurs. How are they arriving at the same time? That's very unrich of them. Also, they completely butcher speaking Russian here. My girlfriend is Russian and writhed in agony after hearing this. I'm not going to pronounce it because I'm pretty much as white as they come, but it's like saying how are you as who-er-oo. You know what? I'll give this ugly cunt a break. It is a slow Tuesday after all. So Maisie just decides to climb out of the balcony and shimmy across the windows and shit. She could just sit tight and not risk her life, but I guess she really wants to see her grandpa and tell him shit she already told him. Also, maybe my family dynamic is fucked, but who'd risk their life just to see a grandparent? I'd let mine perish for a large enough sum. Despite how smart Maisie is supposed to be, she doesn't notice the flatlined monitors right next to her and tries to wake her, let's be honest, probably purple-faced and cold grandpa. She can't get too upset before Eli walks in and calls the maid to... Oh, I don't care. He fires her and there's more hints that Maisie's a clone. It's really not that important. But Maisie escapes by hiding in the weird lift thing that I only know from Zathura. Anyone else remember that? Or is that like too niche? There's also this really out of place bit where Claire does a read for the trailer with the nostalgia music behind it.
Do you remember the first time you saw a dinosaur?
Owen comes up with the plan to use a packy to break a hole in the wall to help free them from their prison. This will be annoyingly intercut with the auction before he does some impressive acrobatics to avoid it before it knocks the door open, allowing them to escape. Why I didn't go for Claire, I don't know, and why it was so hyper aggressive, I also don't know. I really just don't care anymore. As I said, it's intercut with the auction, which is equally as uninteresting, but I do think they lowball the cost of extinct animals. Also, what are these people going to do with these things? Someone buys an Allosaurus, but we've been shown that not even professional organizations can hold dinosaur properly, let alone stupid billionaires in their private menageries. After Claire and Owen escape, as thanks to the help of the packy, Maisie's just chilling behind them. I guess she was able to sneak through the house even though it was crawling with guards before, and she runs away despite admitting later she knows who Claire is. So they rush their relationship development with this prior knowledge and the Owen video she saw earlier, and rushes to hug some people she just met. Just because you know of the redhead and have seen the gay hater be nice to dinosaurs, it doesn't mean they'll actually be nice to you. So all three of them sneak around to the auction just in time for the Indoraptor to be revealed. A bunch of the guards are just stabbing it with shock sticks, which you think would not be great in front of people who want to buy it, but my biggest issue is it's pointless. They've done it with a bunch of dinosaurs that were securely restrained, and it's equally as unnecessary each time. Like, sure, you can say it's because they're evil and they torture animals for fun, but on the other hand, it'll just piss off the thing that can kill you in half a second. They say the Indoraptor is not for sale, but they still show it off for some reason. Like, for what? So they'll come back for more customized monsters next year? And then they just sell it anyway. It's clear this is just a setup to get it to escape again. Also, am I the only one who thinks its design is lagging? The Indominus looked great. It was unlike anything we'd seen before while still being familiar in all the right ways. But this is just an ugly Velociraptor. I guess they knew it was only going to have like 10 minutes of screen time and didn't want to put effort into a good design. Even its name is boring. But regardless of its prototype status, they still decide to sell it, much to the dismay of one Henry Wu, who's pissed because he thinks the people who buy it will just make more Indoraptors, like they're at all capable or as smart as him. Henry Wu is the only guy who can make these things, and the millionaires will probably hire him to help. While Owen is trying to unwire some shit, presumably to try to stop the Indoraptor from leaving the building, the elevator door randomly opens, and the packy appears just in time for Owen to devise a plan. How is the packy here right now, and why did the elevator door open? He's fucking with the cords, sure, but elevators usually have their own fuse boxes and control panels, so it just opens for no reason. Anyway, he somehow gets the packy in the lift without being murdered, and then somehow sends it to where the auction takes place. It's revealed he's in the lift later, but it still doesn't make sense. And what follows is a surprisingly violent scene of the packy delivering extreme blunt force trauma to several innocent millionaires. They're definitely not great people, but they most likely don't deserve to die or have lifelong injuries thanks to every bone in their bodies being shattered. Like, some of these people are definitely dead. So Owen then goes full superhero and solos an entire team of security with automatic weapons. He might as well be wearing an armored vest that says plot on it. But seriously, look at the force he punches this guy with. You can't tell me that's not super strength. Despite being hyper aggressive before, the Indoraptor doesn't try and grab anyone near the edge of the cage, including Owen, who makes intense, potentially sexual eye contact with the creature before fucking up the conveyor mechanism, thereby forcing the Indoraptor's cage to stay in the auction room. All the chaos results in the auction room being abandoned, and the evil military dude is left alone to do more evil shit. Where is Owen right now? He was here before. So the evil army dude shoots 2 tranquilizer darts into the Indo and walks into the cage to try and get a tooth. I hope you're not too attached to this guy because he fucking dies brutally here. This is also the payoff from him ripping the Stegosaurus' tooth out earlier, you know, aside from showing how comically evil he is. So the Indo pretends to fall asleep from the tranq darts because it somehow knows what those are. Imagine they were normal bullets and it pretended to sleep. How is this thing so smart to pretend to fall asleep and then play pranks on him with its tail while literally smiling at the camera? This movie is so fucking stupid. Oh, sorry, I forgot to say the second movie in this 3-movie, it's ending. The third one is starting soon. But yeah, military guy can't cut the tooth out because it's too tough. A few things. Why doesn't the Indo instantly attack him once the gate is open? Was it just trying to have fun? I guess it was based on its smile to the camera. Also, what makes its teeth so hard? It's such a pointless detail. Does it not feel any pain during this? Some dude is squeezing the fuck out of your tooth and you're just chilling. And finally, did the tranquilizers not have any effect on it? What part of the Indo's genetic makeup makes it able to resist them? It's not big enough for them to not affect it, unless the darts were duds, but I doubt that very highly. Anyway, he gets his arm bitten off and he dies, and while he's being violently eaten, the auction dude runs across the room to the lift, where he finds some rich people, and despite having plenty of room to hide on the left or, using the lift like it's supposed to be used, he throws some woman into the open so she can scream at the situation and doom them all. Next up is the scene where Eli tells Owen and Claire that Maisie is a clone of the old dude's daughter, which is stupid. There's literally no point in him saying this other than to have a dramatic reveal for the audience. He wants them to hand Maisie over to him, but does he think telling them this information will change their minds? That they'll just be like, ugh, this living child is a clone, fuck her, yeah, evil dude, just take her. Anyway, the screenwriters decided that's enough of that, and the Indoraptor teleports to where the plot is happening and kills more security, which will likely traumatize Maisie for life. But before we see her therapy sessions, there's a scene extremely reminiscent of the last movie where random hands are packing up a lab, and this is where we once again see Franklin in a lab coat posing as a lab worker. Wait, I thought he disguised himself as a dock worker. How bad is the security here? While Henry is having an argument with Zia about Blue's contaminated blood, he gets jumped by Franklin, who decided to dramatically take his hairnet off and stab Henry in the neck with a tranquilizer, which would probably kill him. If you're interested, the science that Zia discusses with Wu is fairly accurate. They've mixed Blue's blood with the T-Rex's, and it definitely would be contaminated if he wanted a sample of it. Also, why is he mad they did a transfusion? If they didn't, Blue would die. Did he not get told about her being shot? Before they can escape, they get jumped by more security and free Blue from her cage to, you guessed it, violently kill them. Can they even be sure Blue won't go for them? Sure, she's smart, but she also tries to get Owen a few times despite him literally raising her, which, by the way, conflicts with baby Blue showing empathy to him when he fake cries. But that's another rant I can't be asked to go on. You've seen the length of this video. The last thing it needs is another rant. So Blue escapes in an explosion, somehow unscathed. I guess dinosaurs can also have plot armor. And this explosion starts the release of toxic gas into the basement. Why the fuck do they have toxic gas? At least gas that didn't explode already. What's the point of it, and why is there enough to pose a reasonable threat to all the dinosaurs later? Now we've officially begun the horror movie segment. This one is slightly less boring and stupid than the last one, but not as entertaining as the first. It's thankfully pretty short though. And it starts with the trio of Owen, Claire, and Child sneaking through the dinosaur museum in complete darkness, coming across the Indo without seeing it somehow, and playing hide and seek with one of the best hunters on the planet and winning. Why didn't they just leave the house? There are plenty of cars in the driveway. Just take one and go. Move country so you'll never encounter the Indo. Make it someone else's problem. That's what I'd do. But like seriously, how do they not see the Indo, and how does the Indo not see them? Look at all these instances where one should have seen the other. So they run up the staircase, almost dying like 8 times, and hide in the weird dioramas on the walls. Then Owen finds a fuse box and shuts off lighting to the whole building, even though raptors are shown to have extremely good night vision, and this thing is more than half raptor, so it just disadvantages them if anything. This also causes the ventilation system to be shut down, for some reason, and Franklin attempts to get it back online, unknowingly putting the whole cast at risk of consumption. And the lights get turned on right as they're in the middle of a diorama that the Indo is staring straight into. I guess the windows are hard to see out of from one side, but like, why? Why not just make it glass instead of a one-way mirror? Or is it an excuse to have this shot? I feel like it's definitely the latter. Despite being presented with another free meal, the Indo once again shows its incompetence at killing anything and fucks around with some scaffolding and props. Like, can it seriously not move these things? Although it does get a good stab into Claire's leg that definitely would have penetrated something important. But instead of going for the easy kill, the Indo chases Maisie, who managed to escape undetected until she fucking screamed. So it chases her upstairs and crashes into everything on the way there. How is this thing supposed to be used in war if it can't even kill a little girl? Also, why is the Indo so aggressive? In the last movie, the Indominus was killing everything because it was finding out where it fits in the food chain and killing for sport. Not only did that make sense for a sheltered animal, but also characterized it as psychotic, made it feel like a threat. But is the Indoraptor doing the same now? Just feels like it's attacking everything for no reason. But I guess all dinosaurs in these movies are bloodlusted for no reason. Anyway, so Maisie escapes in the little lift thing as the Indo charges her while running like a horse. Was this supposed to be cool or scary? Because it looks fucking stupid. Back to Claire and Owen, they share another poorly timed kiss in a moment of intense danger. I guess they're turned on by dinosaurs and murder, and this kiss convinces Owen to leave the severely injured Claire alone with a custom dinosaur on the loose. He grabs a gun, Maisie hides in her bedroom for some reason, and the Indoraptor gets outside the mansion. Why doesn't it just leave here? The Indominus wanted to explore, so why doesn't this thing? Especially since they're saying it's smarter than the Indominus. I guess despite having the chance of freedom for the first time in its life, it would just prefer to try and eat another child. Maybe it's trying to get around the roof to find Maisie, but how would it have known she was going to her bedroom, let alone knowing where her bedroom is? Does it have thermal vision like the Indominus? If so, then how did it not see the tree or hiding right next to it before? Forget how it was literally just sprinting down hallways and ramming into everything before. Now it's going to gently open a door and slowly reach for Maisie instead of violently mauling her on sight. But before it gets the chance, Owen comes in with an ex machina and shoots it a few times with the gun he picked up. The Indo recoils and cowers a little, and Owen stops shooting. Like, it's still alive, bro. Shoot the cunt in the skull and get this over with. But then it's revealed it's bulletproof after we hear bullet cases falling on the ground. At least that's what I think the movie is implying. If it's bulletproof, why did it even cower? We've seen it has a high pain tolerance from when the army guy was trying to rip his tooth out, so what the fuck? Wait, actually, how do the tranquilizers pierce it if it's bulletproof? Even if Owen was going to shoot him more, he can't because the gun only had 3 bullets in it. And instead of running away like any sane person with self-preservation instincts, he just presses himself up against the wall and prepares to be disemboweled in front of a child. And if one ex machina wasn't enough for you, we get another, with Blue coming out of fucking nowhere and starting an incredibly violent dinosaur fight. Wasn't the Indoraptor meant to recognize Blue's authority? Why does it try to fight her? Was Henry Wu wrong? Oh my god, that's hard to say. Was Henry Wu wrong? Was Henry Wu fuck? Was Henry wrong? What was their plan? The Indo looks fully grown, so how would it need a mother? Owen dives towards Maisie and stays on the bed with her instead of getting her the fuck out of there and makes a mean face at the Indo when it tries to get them. Like, I understand his smolder may be powerful, but surely it can't repel dinosaurs, right? He then decides the best course of action is to go out the window onto the roof, and Maisie's just on the same page somehow, because she tells him to shimmy across with her like she did before. The Indo and Blue then pop out of a window that pushes them both off the wall, conveniently with a nice little slide below them so they wouldn't get hurt. That's nice of them. They run across the glass roof and find themselves at a dead end, with a massive drop on one side and a bloodthirsty dinosaur on the other. Good job, Owen. Should have just left the bedroom the other way when you had the fucking chance, or better yet, just gotten in a car and left. It's shown that the Indo is too obese to walk on the glass roof, and somehow its roar causes Maisie to slip. But before she can fall to her death, Claire does her best impression of a chimpanzee trying to distract the Indo. In case you're counting, that's the third ex machina in under 5 minutes. How did she get up here? Couldn't she not walk? Is there a ladder up to the roof from the ground, or did she shimmy across as well? She somehow found the gun the Indo was trained to follow orders from or whatever, and aims it at Owen because they telepathically made a plan or something. This Indo is super well trained. If it's as bloodlusted as it's shown to be and wants to kill anything that moves, then whoever trained it deserves a Nobel Prize because it follows the laser without hesitation. Given how well it follows orders and the fact that Claire has the gun, she could probably just train it on Owen and call someone to come help them. It's so well trained, it'll probably just stay there and wait for the fucking kill sound to play. What happens if you aim the laser at the Indo itself? Or what about an inanimate object? What if you press the sound button without priming the laser first? Why try anything like that when you can put your boyfriend in mortal peril for the sake of creating tension in your blockbuster dinosaur movie? Owen manages to slide underneath the Indo despite being on a roof, and the Indo being huge, and a well-trained killing machine, and despite the little metal thing they were walking across being super thin, and the Indo falls through the glass. I guess the director was really proud of that shot because we see it 3 fucking times. But surprise, surprise, it didn't work because it just climbs back up again and stares at Owen, despite being given the kill command. And we've been shown when it gets this command, it goes fucking crazy and probably wouldn't stand its stare menacingly. Maybe the director told it to stand still so Blue could come out of nowhere for the 4th fucking ex machina and slow-mo slams it onto the Triceratops horns in the museum below. How is this the thing that kills the Indo? If this thing is bulletproof, the horns would have to be insanely sturdy and sharp for it to do anything. Surely the skeleton would just break, right? And yeah, less than half an hour after it's properly introduced, the Indoraptor fucking dies. And I gotta say, it's pretty brutal, but you know, suffocating old people is too much to show. They have a super awkward interaction with Franklin and Zia before she tells them to come downstairs because there's something they need to see. And it turns out to be the fucking gas that's gonna kill all the dinosaurs. Bit of an understatement from her if you ask me. Wait, I just realized they were trying to fix the ventilation systems and turned on the lights instead. So they literally did nothing for themselves and almost killed their friends. What the fuck? Claire is then placed into a real life trolley problem, but instead of a lever to switch a track, it's a button to open the garage gates that'll release all the dinosaurs. If she doesn't press the button, the gas will kill all the dinosaurs in there, but the world won't be fucked over. She really shouldn't have this issue given her avid support of wanting to save the dinosaurs earlier in this movie. And if you want to argue that she thought that rescuing them would put them on another island, she didn't even think of that until speaking with Eli, which was after she was calling Congress people and senators about it. So she should press the button without thinking twice because that's in her character. And don't fucking tell me her arc was that she thinks all dinosaurs should die now. They just wanted to set up Dominion. Look, even Owen warns her that it could ruin the franchise.
You press that button, there is no going back.
Claire recalls the horror of reading the Dominion script and decides not to press it, but then Maisie just presses it instead. I guess it guarantees her another role in a movie, with the bullshit reasoning of, they're just like her. They are not, they are dinosaurs. You are a human. You might be a clone, but that's not a good reason to indirectly cause the deaths of countless innocent people, who are also alive just like you. You just ruined not only the whole planet's ecosystem, but also the reputation of this franchise. Also, we learned later in Dominion that she was born naturally, not made in a fucking lab, further proving that she's nothing like them. You know, watching this back in cinemas, I had no idea that this one action would essentially lead to the kickstarting of my TikTok and YouTube career. Doesn't mean I'm fucking happy about it though. Anyway, all the dinosaurs get out and instantly start killing people, and their first victims are Eli and some of his workers. They're trying to leave with the Indominus's bone sample, but are interrupted by the stampede, and Eli hides underneath his car. Why is he even still here? It's been like half an hour since all the millionaires dipped, so he should be gone as well. Did he not see the Indoraptor on the roof? Also, wasn't it bucketing with rain like a few minutes ago? What happened? Why is everything suddenly dry? But my biggest issue is how the fuck did he not see the T-Rex right there? Not only that, but its footsteps are completely silent until it grabs him. Also, every dinosaur in this franchise yells at their food once or twice before eating it, so this is complete bullshit. I also hate this fake out that it's going to be the Carnotaurus that gets him, like it's just walking around back there. Anyway, so Eli gets absolutely brutalized, and I guess this is supposed to be him getting what he deserves, but if you ask me, he hasn't done anything as bad as Claire in the first movie, and not anything bad enough to warrant being ripped in half while screaming the whole time. And then they do the classic T-Rex roar from the first movie, and it just fucks me off so bad. This is not a satisfying payoff. You just showed me a shit fucking movie with awful pacing, a fake out, and a jump scare, and finished it with this shit. Who watching this movie saw all that and kept their nostalgia for the original movie? For fuck's sake. The T-Rex's final act is stomping the Indominus' skeleton, which I guess is supposed to mean that it can't be used again, even though it's just in pieces and not completely destroyed. That is not how DNA works. Also, the Indoraptor's corpse is still just chilling inside the mansion. That can also be used. To me, this signifies that the writers are telling us, enough with this genetic modification bullshit. We're going back to the roots of this franchise with original dinosaurs. But the genetic modification bullshit was what got people excited about in the first movie. Claire even says that kids aren't impressed by a dinosaur anymore, which was a semi-meta commentary about modern cinema audiences. I guess kids aren't impressed by genetically modified dinosaurs anymore and just want to see gigantic locusts instead. What a great choice, Colin. So all the characters leave the house and come across Blue, who, just like last movie, is able to understand complex emotions and human concepts, and also just basically understands understands English now. Owen tells her to come with him so we can find her a safe place. And I swear to God, she understands what he says, then looks at a cage before running into the forest. This literal animal understands the concept that with her guaranteed safety also comes a lack of freedom. What the fuck? Is this like a commentary on keeping animals in captivity? What is happening? While the cast stand and stare off dramatically, we get a weird close-up of Maisie's eye while Jeff Goldblum yaps some fake dramatic dialogue that means nothing. He says the dinosaurs being released into the wild was inevitable from the moment they reintroduced the species to the world, which is entirely incorrect. I can't dissect everything he says because it's all complete bullshit dialogue that sounds more weighty than it actually is. Kind of like Destiny dialogue, honestly. Absolute bullshit that sounds okay until you think about it on anything other than a base level. Also, I'm just gonna come out and say it, the final shape was arse. We also get a montage of people doing shit with the dinosaurs, like putting them on a plane and putting them on trucks. Just a lot of different people putting a lot of different dinosaurs in different vehicles. And we also see some dinosaurs in the wild, like the mosasaur at a beach and Blue on a mountain. Also, the T-Rex roars at a tiger that's dressed as a lion, and I know it's a tiger because lions don't fucking roar like that, and Hollywood and media in general always get it wrong. This is a lion roar. And this is a tiger roar. I'm keen for someone to come into my comments and explain how the scientists use parts of a tiger's genetic code to make the lion, all while slapping their semi-erect penis against their desk. Fucking dickheads. So the movie's almost over, but would you believe that my least favorite part is still yet to come? Hard to believe, I know, but it's actually the last line in the movie.
Welcome to Jurassic World.
It's fucking awful. Words cannot explain how much I hate this line. It makes no sense. Who the fuck would use a buzzword term like that in a courtroom? Most of the dinosaurs are from the Cretaceous period, so Cretaceous world would make more sense. Also, there was a fucking theme park named the same thing. Imagine if someone brought all the Disney characters to life and they escaped, and someone in a courtroom speaks about how life is forever changed and this was inevitable, and then finishes their speech with "Welcome to Disney World." The dinosaurs aren't even all around the world yet. They're just in the US, but I guess Jurassic United States of America just doesn't have the same ring to it. The line doesn't work on any level, and it's literally just here for a roll credits moment. This movie dropped to the fucking ball in these last few minutes, despite not even properly fucking holding said ball in the first place. And every time I hear it, it fills me with rage. And to make it worse, we have to look at KFC deep fryer rat's stupid fucking smolder directly after. God, no wonder I was so angry after my first viewing. And the whale next to me definitely didn't help. The final shot is of Blue yelling at a country town that she's about to fuck up worse than a. So that concludes the short insight into. But the most insane, baffling, incomprehensible thing to me is that this isn't even the worst one. And it's not the longest one either. I would apologize for putting this video out so late, but I'm not sorry, because after rewatching this twice and spending over a week writing the script, I'm actually regretful I didn't wait longer to do this. The first Jurassic World was my longest script at the time, and naturally the script for this video is my new longest, around 50% longer at 16,000 words, meaning this is a long-ass video. So thank you to the 3 people still watching. I got a few comments on my last video making some corrections to some of the shit that I said, so this is me acknowledging them. Basically, I'm trying to say feel free to do that on this video. Unless it's law reasons as to why things are the way that they are, then I don't care. Anyway, I don't really have anything else to say that isn't just me talking about how this movie is arse because it's 3 movies in one, the pacing is shit, the characters are shit, the dinosaurs are wrong, there's no logic, too much plot armor, and the main character is basically superheroes and everything else I hate about this movie. As usual, don't bother subscribing or doing anything. After all, I do love irrelevancy and being unsuccessful. I released the last video in October last year, so I guess you guys will have to wait until like March 2025 for the next one. So I guess I'll see you guys next week. That's why this video took so long. I'll see you next week.